The South China Sea, a vital artery for global trade, is one of the world's busiest and most contested waterways. Every year, trillions of dollars worth of goods pass through these waters, making it a crucial lifeline, not just for regional economies, but for the entire globe. Yet beneath the surface of commerce, the region is once again the site of a dangerous standoff, where national interests and territorial claims collide. In a recent and dramatic escalation, Chinese Coast Guard vessels used powerful water cannons against a Philippine supply boat near Scarborough Shoal, a flashpoint in the ongoing dispute. The confrontation unfolded in full view of the world, highlighting the volatility of the situation. The Philippine mission was intended to deliver essential supplies and support to local fishermen who depend on these waters for their livelihoods. Instead, the encounter left the supply vessel battered and several crew members injured, underscoring the real human cost of these maritime disputes. This is just the latest in a long series of assertive Chinese actions in these contested waters, part of a broader pattern that has played out over years, with each incident adding to the tension. China maintains that the Philippine vessel intruded into what it claims as its sovereign territory, framing its response as a matter of law enforcement and the protection of its maritime rights. The use of water cannons marks a significant escalation, forceful and coercive, yet calculated to stop short of outright warfare. It's a show of strength designed to send a message, without crossing the line into open conflict. This incident has transformed what was once a political and diplomatic dispute into a very real and physical confrontation at sea, raising the risk of further escalation and the possibility of miscalculation. In the aftermath, both nations have doubled down on their positions, increasing naval patrols and hardening their rhetoric in the international arena. The Philippines has strongly condemned the attack, with officials and citizens alike voicing outrage and demanding accountability for what they see as an act of aggression. Meanwhile, China has issued stern warnings to Manila, cautioning the Philippines not to test its resolve or challenge its claims in the region. The Scarborough Shoal standoff now stands as a powerful symbol of a much larger struggle, a contest for territory, resources, and influence that could shape the future of the entire region. From Beijing's perspective, its Coast Guard's actions at Scarborough Shoal were not only justified, but also seen as a vital demonstration of its resolve to protect what it considers its sovereign territory. Chinese officials argue that these patrols are a necessary response to what they perceive as repeated provocations and encroachments by foreign vessels, particularly those from the Philippines. China views the Philippines' presence in these contested waters as a direct and ongoing challenge to its sovereignty, a challenge rooted in its sweeping 9-line claim that covers much of the South China Sea. This claim, though widely disputed internationally, forms the backbone of China's maritime policy in the region. Any foreign vessel, whether civilian or military, entering these waters is regarded by China as an intruder. The Chinese Coast Guard's actions are consistently framed as measured law enforcement, aimed at upholding order and protecting national interests, rather than acts of aggression. Official statements from Beijing frequently portray the Philippines as the provocateur, suggesting that Manila is acting not independently, but at the behest of outside powers, particularly the United States and its allies, who are accused of stirring up trouble in the region. Under President Xi Jinping, China has doubled down on projecting strength and unity, making it clear that it will not compromise on what it sees as its core national interests. Xi's leadership has emphasized the importance of defending territorial integrity at all costs. The South China Sea is not just a matter of pride for China, it is central to the country's economic security, trade routes, and regional ambitions. This has fueled massive investment in expanding and modernizing its Coast Guard and maritime militia, as well as the construction of new facilities on disputed islands and reefs. China's repeated warnings to the Philippines are more than just diplomatic rhetoric. They are clear declarations of intent. Beijing signals that it will enforce its claims with determination, regardless of mounting international criticism or legal challenges. This uncompromising stance means that any Philippine mission in these disputed waters, no matter how routine, carries the risk of escalating into another high-stakes confrontation, keeping tensions in the South China Sea at a constant simmer. At the heart of the dispute is a clash over international law. In 2016, an arbitral tribunal in The Hague ruled against China's expansive claims, affirming the Philippines' rights in its exclusive economic zone. The ruling, backed by the US, Japan, and others, became the cornerstone of Manila's diplomatic strategy. China, however, rejected the decision outright, calling it illegitimate and refusing to comply. Beijing insists its historical rights predate modern treaties like UNCLOS, creating a persistent deadlock. This legal standoff is more than a technicality. It's a challenge to the international system itself. The Philippines champions a rules-based order, while China prioritizes historical claims and national strength. With both sides operating from different playbooks, a diplomatic resolution remains elusive. Facing China's growing might and assertiveness in the South China Sea, the Philippines has responded by ramping up its efforts in alliance building and accelerating military modernization. The government recognizes that standing alone is no longer a viable option in these turbulent waters, and so it has sought to strengthen both its own capabilities and its international partnerships. President Marcos Jr. has taken a noticeably firmer stance than his predecessors, vowing not to yield even an inch of Philippine territory. He has prioritized significant investments in defense upgrades, including new ships, aircraft, and advanced surveillance systems, aiming to better protect the nation's maritime interests and sovereignty. Revitalizing its long-standing alliance with the United States, the Philippines has expanded military cooperation, increased the frequency and scale of joint exercises, and opened more bases to American forces. This renewed partnership is seen as a crucial pillar of Manila's security strategy. Japan has also emerged as a key partner, providing not only patrol vessels and defense equipment, but also sharing intelligence and offering training to Philippine forces. This growing cooperation reflects a shared concern over regional security and freedom of navigation. These alliances serve as both a security backstop and a way to amplify Manila's diplomatic voice on the world stage. By working closely with powerful partners, the Philippines hopes to deter aggression and rally international support for its cause. The U.S. Mutual Defense Treaty acts as a strong deterrent against potential threats, while these partnerships help keep the South China Sea dispute in the global spotlight, ensuring that the issue remains a priority for the international community. However, China views the growing U.S. and allied presence as a direct threat to its interests, frequently accusing Manila of inviting instability and external interference into the region. Every new defense agreement or joint exercise is seen by Beijing as a provocation, fueling a cycle of escalation and deepening mistrust between the rival powers. The Philippines' alliance-driven approach, while strengthening its security, also raises the stakes in the region, making the South China Sea more volatile and unpredictable than ever before. Tensions spiked with the U.S. deployment of a new missile system in the Philippines, the Typhoon, capable of striking regional targets. China responded with harsh warnings, accusing Manila of dragging itself into danger by hosting American weapons. Beijing sees these missiles as a direct threat to its bases and even the mainland, fundamentally shifting the security balance. China's reaction is meant to deter not just the Philippines, but any regional state considering similar moves. Manila defends the deployment as a sovereign right and a necessary deterrent. The Philippines insists the system is for defense, not aggression. This disagreement over intent has opened a new, more dangerous front in the U.S.-China-Philippines relationship. The missile deployment underscores the deepening military rivalry in the region. The conflict in the South China Sea is fought with both actions and words. The Philippines defends its alliance with the U.S. as essential for self-defense against Chinese coercion. Manila has accused Chinese vessels of illicit activities, including drug smuggling, charges Beijing vehemently denies. This exchange of accusations deepens mistrust and complicates diplomacy. China portrays Philippine actions as provocative, especially supply missions and patrols in contested waters. Each side sees the other's moves as aggressive, fueling a cycle of escalation. The Philippines asserts its rights under international law. China insists on its historical claims. With both sides entrenched, the war of words makes compromise ever more difficult. China's warnings to the Philippines reflect a broader vision for regional security. Beijing sees the US-Philippines alliance as part of a strategy to contain China and maintain American dominance. China advocates for Asian solutions to Asian problems, seeking to minimize outside influence. Beijing accuses the US of stoking conflict to justify its military presence and arms sales. The US and its allies promote a free and open Indo-Pacific, based on international law and equal rights. China, in contrast, seeks a Sino-centric order where its interests are paramount. Beijing's warnings are aimed at all Southeast Asian nations, discouraging alignment with the US. How the Philippines navigates this pressure will shape the region's future balance of power. The US, Philippines, and Japan have ramped up joint naval and air patrols in the South China Sea. For Manila, these exercises build military capability and show it's not alone in facing China. For the US and Japan, they reinforce freedom of navigation and the rules-based order. China condemns these patrols as provocative, seeing them as challenges to its sovereignty. Each side interprets the exercises differently. Allies see deterrence, China sees aggression. The presence of powerful allies is meant to deter Chinese moves, but also prompts Beijing to increase its own military activity. This action-reaction cycle heightens the risk of miscalculation. Joint exercises, intended to stabilize, may actually push the region closer to conflict. The South China Sea remains a flashpoint, with neither China nor the Philippines willing to back down. China continues to expand its presence, declaring new administrative controls and challenging Philippine sovereignty. The Philippines, under President Marcos Jr., is determined to defend its maritime rights and support its fishermen. Strengthened alliances and new defense capabilities signal Manila's readiness for a long-term standoff. The risk of miscalculation is high. A single incident could trigger a major crisis involving the US and China. Effective communication and crisis management are urgently needed to prevent catastrophe. The dispute affects global trade and tests the international rules-based order. The outcome will shape whether international law or raw power governs the region. For now, the South China Sea teeters between deterrence and disaster, with peaceful resolution increasingly out of reach.